Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. I hope you're doing well, and if you're not, I hope you are soon. Okay, today on the channel we are taking a look at Wode Ridge, and this game was provided to the channel for a review copy. We have taken a look at one of the Hunted games before, and the Hunted games are solo card games that are based on popular themes and IPs. The game that we have taken a look at on the channel before is Hunted Mining Colony 415, and these are all games created by Gabe Barrett. And Hunted was a game highly inspired by Alien and Aliens. I also know that there is a game called Hunted Kobayashi Tower, and that is inspired by Die Hard. I haven't played that one yet. And I've also played Hunted North Pole, which is a game inspired by the popular franchise of Christmas. And in today's video, we are taking a look at Hunted Wode Ridge. And this is a game that is kind of a mix between Stranger Things and everyone's favorite 80s movie about a group of kids and their alien friend avoiding scientists, government officials, and pesky parents. Yes, that's right, Nuki. Okay, let's take a little look at the back of the box of Hunted Wode Ridge. Take on the role of a group of kids and their newfound alien friend and explore the town of Wode Ridge, looking for evidence of the town's supernatural happenings. But be wary, the darkness knows you're snooping around, and it'll try to get you before you get it. Find enough evidence to figure out which monster is currently stalking the town, and then defeat it before time runs out and the darkness overtakes you. I really do love the art design in this game. I love the kind of bold and stark colors. I think it looks really, really nice. So this is definitely the big box version. This is the biggest box that I know of the Hunted series so far, and it does take up quite a bit of table space. Just to the north, to the top of my table, I have an additional board, and that is the evidence board. And we will take a look at that in more detail when we get to the evidence section. So, what is Hunted? Hunted is a solo card game where in this game you are playing as a group of kids on bikes. So we have the team here. We have Jayla, Jack, Cecilia, and Danny, and each one of these characters has a special ability that they can take advantage of. And they are also joined by a little alien companion, and you can choose which alien companion to bring along with you. We have Al and Marty. I will play with Marty for this game here, or this kind of demonstration. And really what these games are games of resource management and pressing your luck. You are going to be working through a deck of action cards. And in this game, one of the gimmicks, one of the things that's different is these action cards are double-sided. We have the real world side, and then we have basically the upside down. I can't remember what it's called here, but you go into portals and then you will have to deal with a darker side, a darker version of these cards, which are a little more deadly. But these cards will offer certain icons that are actions that you can take advantage of. Each card has a cost that you need to spend to take advantage of that card. And once you do, that card will add some bonuses to you, and it will allow you to interact with the game in different ways. Now, this particular version of Hunted also includes some location cards, and these are locations that your kids that you will be exploring while you are playing. And each one of these is basically a different kind of action that you can take while playing the game. All games will start in the neighborhood, so at the beginning of the game, you can lose some time to draw some item cards. And throughout the game, you will come across locations like the government lab, the mall, the old manor, the forest, the cemetery, the fairgrounds, and the high school. So to set up your game, you will set up your 4 kids, you will set up your allies and items deck. These are cards, decks of cards that you can get to unlock certain items that will help you pass certain challenges, as well as certain allies that might help you pass certain challenges. And when you face troubles, troubles are challenges that you will have to overcome by rolling your energy dice. And energy dice, this is one of the things that you're having to manage, one of your resources that you are having to manage. And as you spend those, you will move those over to the spent side. Another resource you will manage is time, and time ticks down as you take certain actions. If you ever run out of time, it's game over. And your final resource here is your health. And if you ever run out of health, it is also game over. So these are different trouble decks. And when you come across trouble, you will have to face the consequences here. You can find portals that will teleport you to that dark side of the world, or you might run across FBI agents or parents wanting to trouble you, wanting to mess with your free time doing your investigation. You might get grounded by your parents, and bullies too that might want to punch you. And then these will be the troubles that you will face when you enter into the upside down world, the dark world. And these are more alien in nature and more like monsters. The final deck of cards we have are the evidence cards. And again, I'll take a closer look at the evidence cards when we get to that section. But these are kind of the main thing that you're trying to find. These are the MacGuffins. These are the questing objects. And these are all different pieces of evidence, and you will combine these evidence in kind of a tile-laying puzzle-like fashion to determine the adventure that you are going on, and also those will dictate the final boss. You're trying to find evidence of who the boss is, and these are kind of like aliens and cryptids. We have things like the El Chupacabra, Mr. Snips, the Mothman, the Hobnoblins, the Spectre, and the Jersey Devil. So a game ends when you either run out of time or health, or when you defeat the final boss of the game. So let me get things set up. The way you set up is you just take all of your action cards here, and you will shuffle in the locations, and you will start in the neighborhood. So I'll put the neighborhood over here, and I will shuffle these on into the deck off camera here. Okay, so I have all of my locations mixed into the action card deck, and you put a top card on here to hide it, because this is a game where you draw from the bottom because the cards are double-sided. And that can be kind of an issue. I wish that all games that had you draw from the bottom came with some kind of little card stand, because really when you're playing this, you kind of have to hold the cards in order to do that. I actually use this little thing from this chopper I bought. It's a little kitchen thing that holds the blades, and I have been putting my cards in here and standing them up like that. And so each turn you will draw some cards, you will do what they say, you will spend actions to take additional actions, trying to avoid trouble, trying to find items and allies to help you while managing your time, your energy, and your health, all the while looking for evidence to determine what is going on. And so the first thing you'll do is you will draw a card and you will look at what it says. So we found a med kit. The med kit offers no icons, so no actions that we can spin this card for, but it requires a search action to take into our inventory. Okay, so that's our first card drawn in the hunted row. We will draw our second card here. Okay, so this is a clue. A clue, we can spin this card to use this action. A clue needs a search action spent in order to unlock evidence. Hopefully we can find one of those before we find too much trouble. Another action you can take, so that's the draw action, you can also hide. And hiding allows you to completely discard every card in the hunted row in exchange for some time. And so as things get too problematic, as too much trouble starts to come out, you may want to hide so you can reset your hunted row. There is a strong pressure luck element to this game. But let's keep going. We really want to try to find one of these navigate symbols here. Okay, so we found the mall. We started the game in the neighborhood, and I could have taken advantage of this. Maybe let's do so as an example. So at the beginning of the game, you start in the neighborhood. You can lose one time, so I'll tick down my time here in order to draw 3 items and keep one and discard the others. So let me take a look at my items. I can draw 3, and I can discard 2 and keep 1. So we find this item here is the file folder. Acquire a clue card from the row for free. Okay, so we can spin that to take that clue. We have draw 3 cards, discard 1. That's a telescope. and some BF flyers instead of PF flyers. I am going to take the file folder because finding clues is kind of the main thing you're trying to do in the game, and I'll discard these two. Okay, but now we've found the mall. So now we are at the mall. Our adventure is taking place at some mall. You may lose 1 time to draw 3 allies. So similar to the neighborhood, but we can do this with allies. We can meet up with our friends and family at the mall and try to get them to help us. But we do have this one clue card here. I do have this item, the file folder. So I will discard the file folder in order to gain a clue for free. So I'll take this clue card, and that gives me 1 piece of evidence. Let's take a closer look at the evidence board, and we can talk about that because that is the thing that kind of separates this version of Hunted from the other versions. So the gathering evidence aspect of this game is my favorite part of this game. I love that all of these different evidence cards look like Polaroid photographs. I think that's really cool. And on the board, we have this masking tape, like they are being taped up to a cork board or something with strings of yellow or red yarn connecting them, red string. I think this is a really neat little thing here. But as you acquire evidence, you will fill those in these various columns. Each one of these pieces of evidence has different icons, and you have to match those to the icons in the previous column. So here we have a purple icon, and so I could place strange weather here because that also has a purple icon. The card in the middle slot, that only has to match one of these. So here we have a police shield, and that is matched to that police shield. And here we have a paw print, and that is matched to that paw print. As you fill in columns, you will add up the numbers, and depending on the location that you are in, you will turn to an adventure book to read a little story about what's happening, and then you will usually have a choice of what you want to do. So let's use this setup here as an example. Let's say that we had just placed the radio waves and we completed this column here. So that would be 3, 1, and 2. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6. And we are in the mall. So now we can turn to the adventure book here and we can find the mall section. So for each of the locations, there is a chapter. So we have the neighborhood, Old Manor, fairgrounds, the high school, the forest, the mall, cemetery, government lab, and then the bosses. And so let's find the mall. The mall is on page 31 here. So turn to page 31, and we want to find entry number 6 because that's the total of the cards that we use to complete that particular column. So here we have number 6, the ball pit. Okay, so here we can read about our entry 6 at the mall, the ball pit. You know, I used to basically live in those things, says Danny, pointing at the ball pit. It takes him a moment to feel childish about saying it. Jayla notices his blushing. It's also basically all bacteria, says Celia, nervously clutching her own hands. They never clean them. You move closer to the ball pit, which sits quietly outside a closed Funny Bunny's fast food restaurant. Is that a hand? Asks Celia, pointing to the middle of the sea of color. Looking at the pit, you see one thing that is clearly not like the others, a single hand laying limply just above the surface. What the? Jack says, scratching his head. As you glance at each other and then stare back at the pit, the hand twitches. You jump back with a gasp. Do we help them? Says Julia, not knowing what could lurk beneath the surface of the pit. I don't know, Danny says. I've heard those things are covered in bacteria. So then we have a choice. We can get in the ball pit and pull the person out, lose a time, but draw an ally card, or we can keep moving. So usually the different stories in the adventure book will give you an opportunity to make a choice, and that choice will have to do with how you are managing your resources. When you fill up your entire evidence board here, the total in the last column will dictate which boss you are fighting. So you've put together all of your evidence, you've determined which of the bosses is messing with the town of Wode Ridge, and then you will have to defeat the boss in order to win the game. While you are drawing cards into your hunted row, you might sometimes find these cards that have these trouble icon, these bells. If you ever have 2 of those out on the board at the same time and then you draw a trouble card, then you have to face trouble because trouble is triggered by 2 noise icons. Or if you ever have 2 trouble cards out in the row, then you have to face double trouble. So you really want to manage your trouble, trying to pressure look, looking for those clues, looking for those icons you need, while avoiding trouble is really kind of the key loop of this game. Once you come across trouble, then you will draw a card from the trouble deck. So if we came into trouble here and we found the portal, we would instantly be teleported into the upside down world. And then we would start drawing cards from the bottom and having to deal with similar cards, but with a little more danger. And the trouble in the upside down world is definitely more dangerous, because you might draw these cards here where you have to defeat a rabid dog using these icons rolled on your energy dice. And so you can choose how many of these you want to spend. So if we were facing off against the rabid dog and I wanted to roll 4 of these dice, I would be looking for these wheels and a punch symbol. So I defeated the rabid dog and I can move on without paying the consequences of losing health. Sometimes you will lose time, sometimes you will lose items or allies, and so on. As you're playing through the hunted cards, you will sometimes gain access to these tokens, and these tokens all have icons that are represented on the dice. And so when you are in trouble, you can spend these tokens in order to mitigate some of your bad luck from the dice rolls. As you use your dice, those are moved over to the used section on the player board. And so you want to also manage how many dice you are spending. Think about the consequences. How much energy do you have left? How much energy have you spent? Because if you ever spend all of your dice, then you can't spend dice to overcome trouble. However, the final action that you can take in this game is a resting action, and that takes a certain amount of time, and you can move, I think it's 5 dice back to, you can refresh 5 dice, and you can also gain a health. So there is a lot of pressure luck. There are a lot of different resources to manage, time and health being the main one, but also your energy. Each of the 4 different characters also has an icon that you can use by flipping them over and spending that to trigger things on the board. So Celia, she can help you gather clues. Jayla, she can take an item card for free without spending the necessary actions. Jack here can discard a card from the row, and so if you come across a trouble card, Jack can be used to discard that. And then Danny here, he's good at navigating, so he has a navigating icon that you can use to spend as an action. For instance, this clue here needs a navigation icon in order to find that. And then your alien companion here, such as Marty, he has 3 icons that you can use in order to overcome the different challenges and troubles. And so yeah, that's basically what you're doing in a game of Hunted Wode Ridge. You are pressing your luck, looking for action icons, spending those action icons to take the action on the cards, and then gaining the benefit of that card, looking for evidence while trying to avoid trouble, and managing all of those 3 resources. Also, you will be reading in this book of stories here, and you will be learning a little bit about the different characters and the town and the weird kind of supernatural things that are happening in Hunted Wode Ridge. So overall, I think Hunted Wode Ridge is pretty cool. It does take up quite a bit of table space for such a small game, and I'm not sure if it's worth it. I would have loved to have seen this game in a smaller box, because I think the experience, it feels like a small box experience. I don't think it feels like a game that takes up this much table space and this much shelf space. When it comes to comparing the 2 games between Hunted Wode Ridge and Hunted Mining Colony 415, I actually prefer Hunted Mining Colony 415. It gives me a very similar feel, a very similar vibe. Most of the gameplay is the same, but it takes up a much smaller space on my shelf, and it is a smaller game on the table. I also really like the gimmick in Hunted Mining Colony 415, and if you saw my video, you know about that, but this has a dexterity mini game for combat where you are flipping ammo tokens into the box trying to hit cards that have images of aliens on them in order to damage them. I think that is a lot of fun. However, I also do enjoy the kind of puzzle-like nature of laying these evidence cards out. I love that these look like Polaroid photos. I think that is super cool. The theming in Hunted Wode Ridge is something that I do enjoy a lot. I like that subgenre of that 80s, kids on bikes subgenre is one that I do enjoy. I just don't know if the size of this is warranted. But it's interesting, it's fun, it's pretty quick. It can be somewhat difficult to learn from the rule book, which is odd. Both of Wode Ridge and North Pole, I think, have pretty bad rule books. When I was trying to learn both of these games from the rule book, I was having some issues, and so I took out Hunted Colony Mining Colony 415 and read that rule book in order to remember how to play this system. It doesn't do a good job of mentioning the tokens really and how those are gathered and how those are spent. But once it clicks, it's a really fast game. You're just drawing cards, laying them out, pressing your luck, and trying to manage your resources. So all right, you guys, well, I hope you enjoyed this quick look at Hunted Wode Ridge. We will talk to you later. Take it easy. Bye-bye.